Welcome back to Manga Storian, and today we're going to be covering more Berserk. I know you guys like it, so here it is. In our last video, we watched as Rickert and Salat battled against the Rakshas while Rickert attempted to escape Falconia. With a trap in place by Rickert, Rakshas was held long enough for Diaba to reveal himself and allow everyone the means to escape on his winged creatures. But as Rickert, Erica, and the others fly over the walls of Falconia, Griffith watches in the distance, saying not a word. While Rickert travels to the mainland, Guts and his friends continue their journey across the sea to Skellig Island. As the seahorse drifts along, Ishidoro sits on top of the sails, telling everyone that he can see it. Skellig Island is dead ahead. While everyone gets on deck to see, Guts says that it seems one way or another they finally managed to get here, safe and sound. Ibellaria tells them that maybe they should be thanking Shirkei for her help. Who do they think? And Shirkei yells for Ibellaria to be quiet. Guts pats down on Shirkei's hat, stating, "Honestly, I'm not sure we would have made it here without. The only thing that I could do is cut down enemies, but you've been healing injuries, looking after Casca. Really, it's more than even I can handle. So for that, you have my thanks." As the seahorse drops anchor and the dinghies make their way to the island, Ishidoro asks Puck, why did he ever leave the island? Isn't it supposed to be a magical place? Puck tells them that he shall tell them the tale of how the brave elf, Puck, set off on his journey. Puck begins stating how once there was a force that he was locked in bitter combat with. The truth of the matter is that while he was sleeping on his enemy's back, he may have peed on him, thus throwing him off into the nearby ship traveling to the mainland. As the small boats make their way to the island, Isma's mother tells everyone that they will keep watch for a while and then tells Isma to come into the waters for a moment. Once there, she hands her a small shell charm, telling her that if she whispers into that, they will be connected. Should anything ever happen, use it. Isma nods her head, and then Isma's mother looks at everyone, telling them that there is something else that she must tell them. The flow of time here is different than anything else in the outside world. Shirkei then says that there have been fairy tales of how elves have lured children to their village, and as they play, they forget all forms of time. By the time they leave, years or even decades can pass in the human world. Isma's mother says that's right. Those on their ship will be included in the island's flow of time. She cannot recommend they stay there long. Soon the group begins to move out, and after climbing over the hill, the group finds themselves staring at a field of stone markers, spreading out as far as the eye can see. Shirkei studies the markings on the stone, but Ishidoro shouts, asking what are they waiting for? They just need to run through before anything else bad can happen. Ishidoro begins running through the markers, but after several twists and turns, he finds himself right back in the front with everyone else. Ishidoro yells, "What the heck? What gives, Puck?" And Puck tells him, "Who knows? This wasn't here the time that I left the island." Shirkei then says that it must have been made here after the world was changed. There is a barrier to confuse and turn away those who trespass on the island. So in an attempt to cross the barrier, a string is tied to Puck and everyone follows it. He starts to fly in and out of the stones, but across the field a group of witches watch and wait. After several minutes of walking in circles, Puck manages to fly out of the barrier with everyone, and the witches ask, how is it even possible? Another witch says it's all right, they still have the scarecrows. The sight of those will have them running in fear. Up next, the group starts to walk through a pumpkin patch with scarecrows scattered all about. Ishidoro and Isma bend down to look at the pumpkins, but as Guts looks around, he touches the brand on his neck, stating that this isn't an ordinary field. As Ishidoro stands back up holding a pumpkin, Puck tells him that he just remembered something. This is a magical field. They shouldn't be touching the crops. Shirkei then shouts to everyone to get out of the field, but before Ishidoro can move, one of the scarecrows steps out of the ground wielding a sickle. Ishidoro starts to turn and run, but as he gets close to the group, Guts swings his sword, cutting into the scarecrows, asking Ishidoro, hasn't he learned anything? Just then, more of the scarecrows pull themselves out of the ground and they begin to make their way towards everyone. As the scarecrows get closer, one swings at Ishidoro, forcing him to jump and dodge out of the way. Once he lands though, he pulls out his dagger, charging through, cutting and setting fire to one of the scarecrows. While everyone starts to defend themselves, the witches begin to keep watch, and one says that they are too strong, while another says that there's no way people not from the island can get through. There's still one more thing in the field awaiting them. Just as the witch says that, Ishidoro notices something reaching up, grabbing his leg, and Puck tells him, oh right, there are traps here as well. Soon, along with the scarecrows, the vines start to reach up and the pumpkins themselves begin to bare their teeth. Guts laughs to himself, stating, isn't it early for a harvest festival? The pumpkins lunge forward with Guts stabbing his sword into the ground, whipping it back, ripping through the patch of pumpkins. One pumpkin then reaches out for Isma, and she quickly realizes that she has nothing to defend herself with, as she grabs another pumpkin and starts to bash it over the one coming towards her. While everyone keeps the pumpkins and the scarecrows back, a few moments pass and Shirkei taps her staff on the ground, telling everyone that she is sorry for making them wait. The tap sends a silent shockwave through the ground, and as it reaches the pumpkins, they they begin to explode. The scarecrows start to grow, and they each have wheat shooting out of their clothes until they are ultimately beginning to unravel. Shir K then lets out a sigh of relief, stating that the field was already brimming with the magical power of gnomes. So all she had to do was use that same energy to create a harvest. Guts laughs, telling her that she used magic against magic. Who would have thought? The three witches from before all begin to start asking each other, how can this even be? Did those barbarians use magic? The fourth witch tells them that they are getting awfully sloppy. While everyone starts to move through the field, Ishidora notices something coming up from the ground, and Roderick asks, what could it be? The figure in the distance begins to grow taller and taller, and as it moves forward, everyone can see the entire being is on fire. Once the being stands taller than the rest, everyone sees the spirits woven throughout the body, and Shirke shouts that it's a wicker man. Guts says that he's heard of those. It's an old sorcery, locking sacrifices into a giant human-like cage and setting it on fire. The magic draws the power out of the lives of those that have been sacrificed, creating what you're seeing now. The three witches then begin to call forth Morda, telling her that summoning that is strictly forbidden. Morda tells the others that if it was forbidden, then why was it made? Besides, dolls are made to be played with. The Wicker Man begins to spin the logs chained to his arms, slamming them down to the ground in front of everyone, and Morda laughs, telling them that the Wicker Man can hurry up and finish off those barbarians. As the Wicker Man winds up for another attack, Guts quickly runs underneath the giant being, pulling out his false hand. Once he's in position, he fires the cannon up into the Wicker Man's body, sending the cannonball through the torso and out the head. All of the witches watch as the Wicker Man falls to his knees, and then as it looks up, it sees Guts standing there with his sword. He focuses his aim, striking down, freeing the spirits that have been locked away. Everyone gathers to watch the spirits fly away, but shortly after, Morda floats by on her broom, calling out to Guts. She tells him, not so fast, interloper, you just ruined her darling doll. Now there shall be no escape for them. Everyone looks up and Ishidora turns back to Shirke, stating, hey, look at that! She's flying on a broomstick! She's in a whole other league compared to our witch! Shirke calls out, please wait, they are not our enemies. Morda looks closer and notices Shirke in her outfit along with Puck and Ivalaria. Just then, the three witches from before shout to Morda that that's what they've been trying to say. This is so like her, never listening to anyone. Shirke looks over to see the other witches, asking who are they, and the first witch tells her that they are the sorcerers of Skellige Island. They don't have time to talk right now, though. If they don't do something fast, the entire island will go up in smoke because of Morda's Wicker Man. Just then, the clouds start to form over their head and there's a sudden downpour of rain. Shirke holds out her hand, stating that this is a magical art. To be able to manipulate the weather this easily is an incredible feat. Something like this normally requires rites. The first witch then sees a shadow getting closer and says that the Archmage comes. Everyone looks down the road and sees an elderly man riding a ram riding towards them. As he gets closer, he says, thank you, Kuka, Ione, and Theon, for keeping watch. As for Morda, I will give her a talking to later. Puck floats up by the old man, telling him, hey, Grandpa Geed! The man says, welcome back, you no-good elf. The man then looks back at everyone and says that he's sorry for this. His name is Geedfried. He's one of the governors of this island's sorcerers. Shirke then asks Geedfried, was he aware of their arrival, and Geedfried says that the king of the elves has sent his oracle. Shirke thinks back, and the only person that she could have thought of would have been the child that disappeared on them off the boat. Geedfried says that an old friend of his came to him in a dream, asking him to be kind to their beloved pupil, eventually coming their way. Shirke asks if it was Flora, and Geedfried turns back to Guts and falls silent. The goat starts to turn, and Geedfried says let them be off to the village now. They can rest up after their long journey, and they can meet the Elfin King. As the group heads off, they pass through a forest of trees that have oddly shaped faces on them. Isma says that these look like old men, like the old man tree. And Ishidoro begins to smack one of the trees, and as he does, the tree's eyes light up, and its mouth closes down on Ishidoro's hand. While Shirke and the other witches watch, Kaka begins to introduce Ione and Theon. Kaka then points to Morda, who's still floating on her broom, stating that that's Morda, who you already know. Kaka then asks, given their group, why would two elves and a sorceress like herself be traveling to their island? Shirke says it's because the woman in the robes, they have come to try and reclaim her mind. The brand had it sealed away and her companions are trying to free her. Kaka says that they heard of the Flower Storm King that can reach the innermost depths of one's mind. It might be possible to help that woman, and Shirke asks, truly? As everyone starts to move again, Kaka then asks, being a sorceress, surely she's noticed the tremendous event that has taken over the planet. Geedfried says that's right. They call it the Shriek of the Astral World. The handiwork of the being known as the Falcon of Light. He devastated the Spirit Wood and the seals of the four corners of the world. Shirke asks, did he say the Spirit Wood? And Geedfried continues to lead the group, and as they come to a clearing, he points to a large cherry blossom tree and says that this is the Flower Storm King's Elfheim. This place also happens to be their home. As the group begins to walk down into the village, they see that many of the homes are constructed in the same way as Flora's mansion. Isma shouts that all of these houses, they look like hats. It's like Hatville. Everyone looks at all of the mages practicing their arts, and while everyone stares in wonder, Morta flies by, stating that it's so dull here. All they do is sit around practicing their skills, and they never set foot outside of the island. It's such a waste of time and talent. She flips upside down and floats over to Shirke, asking, "Hey, how about you tell me about all your adventures in the outside world?" Kukka tries to tell her to stop, but Morta says that Kukka here is just stuck in the old ways. It's time for them to broaden their horizons. As Ishidoro begins to talk about their adventures to the group of witches, he starts shouting and running towards them, and all of the witches turn and start hitting Ishidoro with their staves. Soon Puck flies by, stating, Now, we should be celebrating the great Puck's return." All of the witches look at Puck, stating that he's returned. Get him! And then they all swing. They start hitting Ishidoro again. And Gidfreen says that it seems that they're getting along just fine. Now, if you would, please come into my manor. There you have it, we've reached Elfhelm! We're slowly but surely catching up to the end of Berserk, guys. So make sure you let us know in the comments down below other stories you want us to start covering, because eventually this will have to be like Attack on Titan, where we do it like every few weeks or whatever as more chapters are concluded. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this so far. What do you think about Elfhelm? And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give us a like over on Twitter. I'll see you next time right here.